related to disaster risk management and climate change. And prior to this, she worked on decentralization and integrated community level planning and urban governance issues related to waste management and other social and community development exercises pan India, and was also involved in national mission on smart cities. Welcome, Kashmita. I would now like you to take over and start with the presentation.
Thank you, Aditi. So first of all, I would like to thank the entire team of Archiloop India Initiative, Pranay Kumar Tore, Sashank Shekhar, and Aditi Gaur. So just to introduce myself, I am not a mental health expert, nor I am an urban designer. But it came out of my own vested interest in the particular topic on mental health. So I myself had faced lots of anxiety issues during my student life, and also even now I face lots of, low self-esteem kind of temporary issues. So this is all out of my own learning and exploration. So for this, I would just like to share a PPT, run through a PPT. Is it visible? Hello, is it visible, Pranay?
Not yet.
It's visible, Kashmita.
Acha, it is visible, yeah.
Now?
Yes, yes, it is visible.
Is it visible now?
Yes, yes.
Should I start?
Yes, yes, of course, yeah. You can go ahead.
Of urban planners and architecture, we rarely are aware of these terminologies, except a few working in the development and the social sector. Then comes the very popular term which is used in the sector, which is MHPSS, known as Mental Health and Psychosocial Support. Then why this is very important above all subject areas and topics. Then comes the components of psychosocial health, and then comes the stigma around mental health. So there is certain stigma, both social and cultural stigma. So I'll talk about it. Then there are just different issues for which we face different mental health challenges in life. Then the key rules, key mantra, how to cope up with these situations and how to avoid such situations in life. Then the river tributary concept. This concept is a totally my own concept kind of. So this is what I always remind myself to cope up with any bad or anxious situation and feel positive after each disaster in life, you will say. Then the mental health in urban design and planning. So some key facts around this. Then the design and planning elements promoting the mental and psychosocial health. Then what is a happy space and a city? So if we have a good mental, if we have all the elements of good mental health and psychosocial health, and that itself turns into a happy space and a city. Then the different examples of happy spaces. Then different awareness on global and national agencies for mental and psychosocial health. Then key firms and institutes who are working on mental health and urban design planning work, and COVID health and psychosocial considerations during COVID-19. So I think the COVID-19 has somewhat, it has brought us a very positive impact in our learning and knowledge sharing, that we got to know many approaches and guidelines of mental health, and it's kind of an enlightenment for all of us to know the importance of this topic. Then the awareness on various social media pages and handles. Then different medication centers in India, some helpline and other support systems, and few of these recommendations looking at both from individual perspective as well as from city and development perspective, and urban planning and design. So first of all, what is psychosocial? So we have heard about mental health. I think us have heard about mental health, but this particular terminology is a combined one. So it is both psychological and social aspects of our behavior. So you can say the nature of the study that examines the relationship between a person's peers and how he relates to others in a social setting. So that is what is psychosocial. And when we talk about the psychosocial health, it is the I mean a healthy content hurt is as important for us as a healthy body. So for the and the prevention and treatment of our mental health is as important as we try to prevent physical ailments. And you see that many of us, when we face physical problems, like any kind of physical problems from head to toe, we approach a doctor, we talk about it, we share with our close ones, but none of us talk about our mental anxieties. So I think this is the time we should be very much vocal about it. We should talk about it. There is no shame in dealing with such situations, and it is also okay to be not okay, kind of. And like we take different treatments and pills for our physical ailments, it is also important to take different counselings and seek help for mental health challenges. And this particular psychosocial, it includes mental, emotional, and social health. Now, what is MHPSS? That is mental health and psychosocial health. So the UNICEF had just defined it as like any type of local or outside support that aims to protect or promote psychosocial well-being or prevent or treat mental disorders. So MHPS's problems include like social problems, emotional distresses, common mental disorders like depression, substance abuse, intellectual developmental capacities or like we have seen many people facing antisocial or they are shy or introverted. So we rarely approach them. We rarely approach or seek such or talk about such issues. So that is a part of it. So why this topic is very much important above all other topics right now? You see that the mental health conditions account for like 16% of the burden of illness and injury in youth. Like 10 to 24 aged people are mostly affected. Also, half of mental health conditions start by like 14 years of age, but most cases are undetected and untreated. And also, globally, depression is one of the leading causes of illness and disability among adolescents. And one more fact is that suicide is the third leading cause of death in 15 to 19 years old people. And if these consequences are not addressed in time, it will extend to adulthood and that somehow affect our personal and professional life in the long run. And it also impairs both physical and mental health, limiting opportunities to lead a fulfilling life ahead. So mental health problems can affect, here I'll be focusing only on the students' challenges of life together with the general challenges that we face. So mental health problems can affect students' energy level, concentration, mental ability, hindering performances, etc. And the research also suggests that depression is associated with lower grade points averages, and co-occurring depression can increase this kind of associations. Then comes the components of psychosocial health. So first is this mental health, which is the thinking part of our health. This is the thinking portion of the psychosocial health. It consists of like beliefs, values, ideas, and how we relate to others and trigger our brain to respond to the different critical situations in the environment or the external features. Then comes the emotional health. So this is the feeling part of us, which includes like anger, love, hate, happiness, etc. And oftentimes we will see that both the the first part, that is the mental health, and the emotional part are related. In a way that when you have a low emotional health, ourselves, we are at a position to not accept that we have this kind of anxiety issues. We feel shy to talk about it. Uh, so that part of it. Then you can see this is an illustration by a very popular mental health store. So here you can see how different social anxiety thoughts can come up in an individual's life. Like everyone is looking at me, what are they thinking? They are judging me. I can't cope up with this situation. Everyone else seems to. So I'm not good enough. They'll think I'm stupid. So this is the constant comparison that we have with ourselves and then the external social environment that we have around us, and we kind of feel inferior to the outside environment. So these are some other illustrations by the same illustrationist. So you can see the image of a boy, it's like saying, ask for help whenever it needs it or he needs it. So be vulnerable, haven't expressed my emotions, like speak up to myself. So these are some kind of important thoughts that we all should think about, and all should talk about it. Then the social anxiety. So the previous slide already had some of the social anxiety and thoughts that provoke in our mind. So these are some of the social anxiety symptoms. Like you can see in the girl, like avoiding eye contact, touching of the skin, sweating excessively, feeling dizzy in a group. So in many of the circumstances, even I come up with social anxiety when I face a huge crowd. So this is very normal. It happens to all of us, and it is okay to talk about it. It's okay to accept that I do have social anxiety. I do have social anxiety. There is no shame in talking about it. Yeah. And then stumbling with words or forgetting what we were saying entirely, and urge to leave or and go somewhere a lot wider. So this is what most of us living in urban areas these days have this urge commonly. We particularly me living in a city like Delhi right now presently, we often plan to go out in a space full of natural elements, this etc. So, and this is again an illustration showing what anxiety actually is, and what people who don't struggle with anxiety is. So you can see that what anxiety actually is. So this is like worrying about the future, like constantly worry about the future, our job perspective, our job goals, or career goals, or family goals, personal relationship goals, and etc. Then overwhelming physical symptoms, then tension and fatigue kind of, then obsessions, panic attacks also, then self-doubt, confident about whether we will be able to succeed or perform better, uh, then trouble in sleeping patterns, then lots of ruminations, then fear of judgment, etc. And then you will see that often a person facing anxiety issues and a person not facing about it think differently, and they do think in this way, like they think anxiety as like worrying about silly thoughts, or canceling and avoiding things and blaming your anxiety. So this often happens to me in my case, like whenever I come in some anxious situation, or I go through a very low phase in life, I avoid social context or such things. And like few of my friends come up with such demotivating comments like, "Arey, this is just a silly, just ignore it," kind of. But I just like to request all of you that it is not a thing to be ignored. We should tackle it, and we should more often talk about it and build the city. Then, what anxiety make you feel like? So these are like some very common, simple getting in know what are his feelings like. So one is like you will get headache, kind of lightheadedness, then like running or hiding from the from friends, from close ones, or from the public. Then your throat palpitating, then a lump or tightness in your throat, then like dry retching, sick or unable to eat, appetite loss, kind of like you need to use the bathroom frequently, but out of touch with reality, and lots of other problems like sense of anger and irritability, uh, butterflies in your tummy, like a very unstable position, kind of tense and sore in your neck and shoulders, biting your nails out of fear or incontinence, etc. So all these are some of the normal responses of towards anxiety. So this is one message or a quote which I recently got in Instagram. So if you take few minutes to just go through it, I just read slowly. So let me just go through it. So this is like a we try to hide our emotional status or emotional anxieties inward, and then we try to not talk about it or be open about it. And then when someone else asks us that what happened to you, why didn't you respond back, we simply try to cover it up saying, hi, sorry, I haven't texted you back. The weather has been beautiful, right? How are you? I hope well. Let's get dinner. But there are so many other things bothering the person is bothered but he or she haven't discussed or expressed about those challenges that we had faced, because we somehow are not vocal about our mental issues, about our psychological issues. And we do that because oftentimes we are fearful that people will judge us. We are fearful that people might mock at us, people might not understand our issues. So we try to hide our mental and emotional challenges with all those kind of replies. Then comes the challenges. So why these issues come up? So I'll be focusing mainly on the challenges faced by the students community in their day-to-day life. And even here, if you can see the illustration, things that are not your fault. I mean, there are lots of things bothering us in our day-to-day life activities, but which is actually not your fault, and you should just ignore and keep it cool and be calm. Like how your parents treated you as a child, then your partner cheating on you in a relationship, then a parent leaving you when you were young, any act of violence or mistreatment towards you, trauma you have been through, then a family member's mental health or kind of addiction to substance abuse, then experiencing mental health challenges, then someone not loving you as much as you love them, not as for your expectations, then someone dying, a close one, then your parents fighting, or your some close sibling or cousins fighting, being introverted, someone mistreating you in a relationship. So all this are not your issues. So you should not feel guilty about it and challenges. Then these are the common challenges that students face, especially if we talk about planning and architecture students. So we come across lots of submissions, like weekly, there is weekly submission, there is fortnightly submission of different studio works and seminars, etc. So pending submissions due to workload is a very is the main issue in students community. And because of work burden, then there is students develop unhealthy sleep patterns. Then there is low educational performance, there are students and see that after people come from class 12 directly to a professional line, so they kind of find it difficult to adjust to a new life, and their study pattern, their normal routine gets disturbed. So that's how their grades gets disturbed, and whenever a student like poor academic achievements as compared to earlier achievements is faced by any individual, so that adds to the mental health issues. Then not able to develop coping mechanisms. Most of us, once they face certain anxiety issues in life, certain trouble, mental health trouble in life, they are not able to cope up. So that is a challenge. Then shying or being introverted, not able to express ourselves. Then substance abuse. Then traumatic events in life can be anything like domestic traumas, or even a disaster can be a natural disaster can be also a trauma. Then personality attributes like low self-esteem also adds to it, and not able to manage emotions. Like many people, especially students, they come up with come up with certain harsh decisions in life after coming up with such events like relationship breakups, personal relationship trouble, like any types of violence in the family or a close one. So these kind of challenges, and social health gets affected because and some other issues are like bullying and getting input, demoralized or demotivating comments by our friends, by parents, or close one. So this kind of things adds to the challenges. Then the key rules and mantras. So how do we cope up with the challenges in life? Uh, so this first is like release emotions, constantly sharing with someone. So it is very important for us to release our emotions. So recently there was a finding that people do seek counseling and talk to psychologists and experts, mental health experts, but the entire process is just a sharing thing. So even if you seek, suppose somebody else, your friend or close one, seeks support from you, what we all need to do is just listen to that person. Just listening is enough. So we should also help a person who is in need. Then be kind to yourself and others. We need to be very empathetic about situations and to people around us. Then be busy. Like we should involve ourselves. We should keep ourselves busy in our hobbies. Like most of us have certain hobbies like cooking, gardening, uh, and then like cleaning, waste management, etc. So all this kind of things we should do. Then meditation. So meditation helps us to control different emotions like anger, hate, panic, anxiety, etc. So this is one key rule. Going with the flow. Going with the flow, as in like there are people who are very stubborn at sticking to their goals that they have targeted long back, and then when they are not able to achieve that particular target in life, so they kind of feel anxious. So we should be keeping ourselves flexible in life, not to be so stubborn with the targeted goals. So going with the flow is a very good attribute to facing such issues. Then keep reminding yourself about the rewards eventually, or the easy journey. So this is what I do, and this is the concept, entire concept which I believe in. Then what one must avoid, we should avoid sulking. Like nobody is perfect in this world. We should always understand that yes, nobody is perfect. So we should stop comparison. And moment we compare ourselves with others, we'll not be happy with our performances. Then do not be harsh on people. When you express harsh words, always remember that words do make an impact on people, and that is like a life that can even make a life-changing decision. for an individual. Then never bully anyone. You should not bully anyone, even jokingly. So then never demotivate anyone. This can again lead to setting injuries in life. So there are various oversensitive people who absorb in people's comments and who absorb in people's um, negative remarks. So it can, which can lead to fatal decisions in life. So we should be very careful not demotivate and never threat or harass anyone, either mentally or physically. We all talk about the physical harassment part, but we often ignore the mental and the emotional harassment. So we should not do that. Then avoid or ignore toxic people. There are certain toxic people who constantly involve in negativity, cheating, taunting, or mocking others. So we should avoid, selectively avoid such people in life. Uh, then the eight toxic people we should just get rid of. So this is just for your mental peace. If you want to be in a peaceful state of mind, these are the list of people you should avoid. So like those who spread negativity. Some people have the constant behavior of cheating and spreading ill thoughts about others, so we should avoid them. Then people who criticize you all the time. Then people who waste your time, who are jealous, who play the victim role all the time, who don't care, who don't care as in have a time enough, who are self-centered and who keep disappointing you at all aspects of life. Then what not to say to a friend experiencing a mental health problem. So this is very important. We, whether knowingly, unknowingly, intentionally, or unintentionally, we tend to give remarks on people facing mental health problems, such as like, it's all in your mind, just forget about it, then you need to get out of it, then, but you have nothing but you have nothing to even worry about. So stop complaining about all the time. I always knew you had a problem. There is nothing even wrong with you. Stop looking for attention. So, yeah, yes, people who talk about mental health issues or mental health issues, they are often tagged like attention seekers. So, like you are an attention seeker, so you are talking about it, kind of trying to gain sympathy. So, these are some of the comments that people receive. So you don't look anxious or depressed. You aren't pushing yourself enough. It sounds like you are going crazy. So no one ever said life was fair. So these are some of the comments that people receive. So this we should avoid. And this is the river tributary route concept, which I talked about in previous slides. So this entire concept is mine, on which I continuously remind myself to feel positive. So imagine the green line to be the root of your life, and then the yellow ones are the nodes in the different intersections in life. You take turns and you redirect to the to a different direction. And the red crosses are the ones which you had not opted for, and you went to the other direction. So imagine that we people have a nature of complaining. Oh God, why is it that you complain on each and every day basis? You keep complaining. What if you imagine the life in such a way? Like, what if you are in a direction which was the best decided direction in your life? You had coped up with all the worst directions of life. You were not going in such directions, but you were exactly going where you should be going, and which is the best safe route in your life. But still, you are complaining that, oh my God, doesn't I feel like this. So if you remind yourself of this concept, you will be constantly happy. You will be constantly self-motivating yourself in each and every phases of life. Then comes the mental health and urban design planning principles. So here there are some key facts about this issue. So we planners and designers do know depressingly little about our city's impacts on our mental health. And this poor urban design can also lead to people being less physically active, and like different aspects of urban life lead to poor mental health. And there is also a study also suggests that people residing in cities are more likely to develop depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, and other mental disorders when living in a countryside. And these issues are related to mental environment, physical environment of a city, such as heat, noise, light, social isolation, etc. Then it is also observed that anxiety disorders increase by 23%, sleep disorders by 39%, and depression by 40% in urban setups as compared to the rural setups. And also the qualities of our surroundings have a profound effect on our physical, spiritual, and emotional health. So then mental health is not just an individual issue, it affects the whole city. The entire economic cost is related to 4% of mental health. And mental illness increases the stock of air and puts people at higher risk of physical health problems. And there are like different so we as planners and designers, we need to design cities with emotional well-being in mind. So there are not many policies and guidelines related to mental health and urban design. So like in many discussions, conferences, or any meetings involving people from development sector, urban planners, designers, they talk about the physical health of a city or the infrastructure providing such facilities, but mental health, the mental health issues that they talk about is only the therapy part of it or the medication part of it, not the design and the planning part. Then like living in a city is both good and bad. Good as it provides different opportunities like education, economy, cultural diversity, etc. But it affects the mental health negatively. So we overload our sensory cells as we encounter new people, and our brain is being very stimulated. So this like green spaces, exercises, and especially social interaction. So this adds up to the mental health issues. So we see a lot of people, but we do not have meaningful interactions. Like me sitting in a, like me staying in Delhi, there, staying in a gated colony, I do not talk or I do not interact the neighbor next door. So this is kind of lacking that meaningful social interaction. Then migration from rural or less developed towns to cities, metropolitan cities, or more developed cities means that people are leaving their families and friends, and they have to build new social networks. So this makes people vulnerable to depression and anxiety issues. And physical health is the part of national and international policies, as I already mentioned, but mental health should be a part too. Then mental health illness accounts for 14% of the global burden of disease, and 1 out of every 4 people experiences mental health problems in their lifetime. So contact with nature is the potential way to support mental health. Then relationship between nature, mental health, general psychological well-being is merely a concept till now. It has still not come up in a framework. So this is a quote by the director of the Center for Urban Health. This that mental health issues can't be solved by psychologists alone. City design can help. So we see psychologists talking about mental health issues and challenges in our daily life, but not many city designers or planners talk about it. So it is the time we talk about rethink our design concepts, rethink our planning guidelines, reviewing our different guidelines and principles from the lens of good mental health. Then what are the different design and planning elements promoting good mental health? So one is the green spaces, active spaces, then third social spaces, and safety. So green spaces, it actually reduces excessive green spaces and actually reduces anxiety. And enhancing green spaces that can be even small green spaces that can be seen through your window, terrace, corridor, or veranda also helps. And then the active spaces. So it talks about those spaces like walkable spaces that encourage exercises on a daily commute. It is good for both. Walkable spaces are not just good for physical health, but it also helps us to cope up with mental health issues. Then the social spaces. So these are the spaces that promote natural interactions among people. So there is research that shows that people who live in neighborhoods with this kind of space have lower mental distresses, making public spaces more social, like putting bench or setting up a chessboard in a park or in a square. And also creative placemaking efforts also helps to add to this space and local social interactive spaces. Then comes the safe spaces. So when we talk about safe spaces, it's not just in terms of crime, traffic, but for people facing dementia, a very popular mental health issue. So they have the chances of getting lost. So we need to also reassure that our urban design concepts do have safety protocols for such people facing mental health challenges. So investing in mental health is essential. So if we want to have a vibrant, sustainable city, so building a population that has coping skills or strong relationship skills, we have a happier, healthier city. Then, what is a happy space and a city? So these some of the key elements of it: decluttered or minimalistic idea-based design. So you can find this in the Japanese design concepts. Then the biophilic design supporting psychological and physiological outcomes. Biophilic design especially the granaries and water bodies, promoting granaries and water bodies. And then space plenty natural light and space with proper ventilation. Then comes the happy city. So it is a city which is like equitable to all people coming from different backgrounds, different economic backgrounds, different social backgrounds. Then access to beauty such as public amenities, public art, architectural buildings, etc. These are a few. So there are also barriers to happy space or happy city. These are mostly the privately owned public spaces. So there are some public spaces where you might see you can't take a picture. There is security surveillance and there is restriction. So this kind of actions, this kind of available restrictions acts as a barrier to the concept. Then happy space are also like people-centered design. They are the community spaces or local interaction spaces. Like I had already mentioned, these placemaking spaces, and a space where you feel at ease is itself a happy space. And people are able to participate equally, and this quality public space also a part of it. Then these are some of the concepts and pictures of happy spaces. As you can see that in both the pictures, green spaces are vibrant, and in one you can see it is a biophilic design. There is greenery concept. The concept has greenery and water body flow. And the second is a terrace or a outward courtyard of a residential place, which is full of greens and there is an interactive space. So social interaction and green space are an element to look. Then there is also a same concept, which is a terrace garden with lots of greenery surrounding. So people living in urban areas, there is lack of space. Somehow people try to find and redesign their terrace into good looking creative spaces with greenery and attractive spots. So it is having a so it is a picture of Japanese minimalistic idea. So decluttered concept. And the next picture is where you can see a picture with available with natural ventilation and light. And these are some placemaking efforts globally where dead spots or dark areas were converted into colorful interactive spaces where communities interact, and these were also converted to community participation. And these are also some examples of placemaking efforts where one is the Rotary where people have painted and made into colorful interactive spaces. Then there were some terrace ideas. One in both these clips, you can see very limited access to plantations and proper lighting and even interactive points. People have tried to do a happy scene. And this is the terrace. So like people staying in a foreign city or people outside their own, both the advantage and the disadvantage. You have the priority to select the space where you would like to reside. So I personally prefer spaces which always has a terrace. So I'm very popularly known for selecting terrace rooms, apartments. So this is just to have your own personal time and also personal space in limited space designs like in Delhi kind of cities. Then these are some of the global and national agencies on mental health and psychosocial support. So the first is the United Nations Mental Health UNICEF. So it primarily focuses on children and women issues and also all their both physical and mental health and well-being. Then the World Health Organization, which also focuses on health, both mental and physical. Then the CDC, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Then comes to International Mental Health Collaborative Network. So it is a collaborative network of different mental health organizations globally. Then World Agency for Mental Health. So it is a international multi-professional non-governmental organization. It includes both citizen volunteers as well as former patients dealing with mental issues. Then comes the Mental Health Innovation Network. So it is a knowledge action hub for a global community of mental health, and it consists of stakeholders, including researchers, practitioners, service leaders, donors, policymakers, etc. Then the NIMHANS, we all very a well-known body scientists. Then the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, it's like specific health. Then the key institutes and think tanks working. So it was very sad to note that not many institutes are working presently on mental health, and it's just one that I could find out of my own personal research, that is the Center for Urban Health, which works on designing cities through the lens of mental health challenges. Then comes to Bloomberg City Lab. The others are just think tanks to work or discussion platforms to work and talk about mental health and urban design principles, like the Infrastructure Intelligence and World Urban and Sections.org. So it has some of them apps related to urban design and mental health. Then the mental health and psychosocial considerations during this COVID-19 outbreak. So this particular topic on mental health and psychosocial care was not so much of a talked about topic except in the development sector. But the COVID-19 outbreak has somehow introduced us widely on mental health issues. So these are some of the guidelines that we a list of activities which we need to get involved in, or people need to get involved in face mental health challenges that we are coming up newly during this lockdown and COVID-19 outbreak. So, like humans are social animals, so we need to constantly get in touch good illness. So it somehow affects us. So you can just have a catch-up call with a friend or a dear one or a family, then eat healthy diet. So these are not some kind of a rocket science. We do some daily activities and common sense, but still we fail to ignore our day-to-day work-life balances, balance life. So from then daily physical exercise and meditation, regular sleep patterns, then we need to avoid constant streaming of COVID-19 related news. So the moment we open any social media pages, there is Facebook or Instagram or any online media, all the news that we will get today's date is COVID-19, how many death, the death rates and then the rise rate, etc. So it somehow increases the anxiety level in us. So we need to avoid and control that constant streaming. Then mental health counseling helpline needs to be kept in. So many of these organizations have shared counseling helpline numbers, so we need to look at it. Then comes the awareness on social media pages and handles. So these are some of the apps dealing with mental health challenges. That is the Headspace, then the Calm, then the WYSA and MFind Care. So out of this MFind Care is an app which has online network of doctors who help us in various health issues. Then comes the Calm. So Calm is an app which helps us to induce sleep issues and music therapies, etc. Then Headspace, it has various meditation courses, then it includes healthy sleep habits, exercises, then removing stresses and anxieties, and balancing healthy lifestyles. Then WYSA, it includes therapists, qualified global mental health professionals who support you daily through messages and live sessions. And these are the links of some motivational speakers which you may click anytime whenever you feel anxious or feel low in life. You just stream through and relax after listening to it. Then these are some meditation centers in India. The Ananda, then Tushita. Tushita is a very much talked about meditation center in the Then the Vipassana International Athletic University, Kama, Bodhi, Bodh Gaya, Isha Yoga, and Aurobindo. So all this various strong practices and also disciplining our life and also introducing various Vipassana meditation practices. And Vipassana is de-stressing techniques and work-life balance meditation. Then these are some helpline and support centers where is White Sun Foundation, then Karachi Net, Healthiest State Initiative. So just click on these websites and explore more on clinical health. And this is a PDF which I'll be sharing. The Artiluc team can share with all the viewers later on. So it has a list of sources of health, which includes different online sessions on stress and apps, helplines, teleconsulting, etc. Then few recommendations out of this entire so to raise our consciousness and feel for fellow human beings, and we need to be kind. Then talking more about the mental health challenges around this is very important. And like I already had mentioned, it's okay to not feel okay and talk about it. Then do not hesitate to seek counseling or relieve your anxiety at any point of time, right? Then institutes and ICL institutes and organizations need to organize frequent mental health sessions and meets and for their students and employees. Then there is an urgent need to revision our urban design plan, create the happening elements in building and design bylaws, guidelines and plans. So in India, I found such frameworks coming up. So it's still a concept right now. So in lastly, like whoever is listening today, like students or budding architects, planners, faculty members, and all in general, Like we all need to raise our social sector confidence, spread awareness and solidarity to challenge the systems going towards such developments and changes. So if we do not take a step, so nobody will. So we need to constantly remind ourselves and also people. So if you are an architect or a planner, never just think and plan from the angle and perspective of physical or infrastructure design and facilities alone. You also need to develop your mind into thinking and knowing social issues, then personal and individual anxiety issues, etc. So if you boost yourself, if you, sorry, we boast ourselves working, and we continuously strive to establish ourselves to be active role players in the development sector. But how developed is our mind? It's very important. We need to think from the mental health part. So this is the last slide. Like, if you want a big impact in life, be kind, be helpful, think about others, doing a good thing, and keep smiling. But at the same time, you can see the illustration beside it, which says, it, be kind, shout at many. Like we always talk about, like, be kind, tell people to be kind, but nobody ever said that I will be kind. So use the time of our life where we say that I will be kind. And with that, I finish and today's presentation.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, hi, thank you, Ms. Shweta, for such a wonderful presentation. This presentation, we generally basic idea of how city planners, architects, and urban designers and engineers contribute in our city planning design, so that it will affect our, it will less affect our mental and physical problems. Yes, I also agree that the city affect our mental health, and mental health problem exert a huge impact on cities also. So, let me conclude the whole topic, that the physical and social environment can affect our mental health. With the increasing number of people living in the cities, people's mental health is now expanding beyond the remit of psychiatrists, or you can say psychologists. No, it is a part of our urban planning to design and support and improve the mental health of the city. So, in this PPT, the impact, the key opportunity for a smart urban design is to help to promote the good mental health, prevent illness, and support people who have mental health and their challenges. We focus on green spaces, active spaces, pro-science, pro-social spaces, religious spaces, and safe spaces across the lifespan, from ensuring the safe and local play opportunity for children to empowering the older people, as well as the young generation also, to socialize, to feel the safe across the city, across their neighborhoods. We city makers can consciously seize the opportunity for sustainable development of the population and mental health, putting the research into the action of the policy through the policy, plans, design, development, and obviously the management part also. So I would like to conclude that this is a very interesting topic that teaches us how we can initiate the small changes which can enhance the productivity of our generation, our next generation, or we can say how can we enhance our productivity. Okay, passing to Mr. Tore.
Hello. Yeah, am I audible?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, Mr.
Okay.
Tore,
Okay. All right. I thank you, Kasmita, for such a wonderful presentation, and it was really great pleasure to have you on the show. I would like to ask you a question. Meanwhile, I would request some of the participants to please type on their questions in the chat box. I have a question that many times we face I mean we came across many students that those have some of the abuse kind of situations in their childhood, and that affects their present. I mean they had some abuse in their past, in their childhood, such as financial abuse or say social abuse. They have been bullied in their schools, or sexual abuse, as a matter of fact. I mean the students are nowadays are facing so many abusing issues in their childhood that is resulting in their present. I mean they have been faced some issues, and that is affecting their present, their performance in the schools, their performance in the colleges, their performance as a social being. They are not comfortable with communicating with people. Also, one more thing, that some of the attention seekers people are there, that those those affect the abused people in such a way that they start demeaning themselves. I mean they think they are not nothing in front of those attention seeker people. So they start to suppress their emotions, their feeling, they don't come out. So what is your take on this? Like what do you feel that these kind of students, the students are those who are facing such kind of problems, such kind of issues, should deal this situation, and how they can excel in their performances in present scenario?
So, I suggest this to everybody. Even in my past webinars, I had suggested this. Like, in today's date, each and every university or a college should have a mental health counseling unit. So there needs to be, like in every college or university, there needs to be a weekly health counseling session, and each and every individual should be motivated to go and speak about it. First of all, we need to break the stigma around us. Like most of us face challenges, but a student might face challenge, but then in addition, if that student is a shy or an introvert person, it adds another challenge to it. So he or she might not be able to share the anxiety, and inwardly it might depress him more. So we need to motivate students. We need to generating awareness is a key mantra in this case. Teachers, faculties need to have constant, regular awareness sessions to motivate such people, and we should let those kind of students. We need to go and help such kind of students or a patient dealing with such anxiety. But it might be very difficult to identify them until and unless they themselves come and approach you. So in that case, if the institution or the college makes it a like compulsory thing, mandatory thing, that the counselor talks with each and every student, it's not like only the one who approaches the counselor will talk with that individual. The professional needs to talk with everyone. And just like any other course, mental counseling should be a course in our day-to-day routine or in any professional courses. So that's how we will get to know the issue of a concerned student, and only then we will be able to help that student cope up with the situation. Until and unless the person opens up, we won't be able to help him deal with the issue.
Right. I hope our policy makers or the institution who runs the institute should focus in this matter, that mental well-being is should be the primary issue. They can also go with this.
Pranay, your voice is breaking. I am not able to hear properly.
Okay. Hello.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm audible now. Clear? Is it?
Yes.
Okay. So that's what I'm saying, that I think, as you said, the colleges and the institutions should also focus on the mental well-being of a student, rather than putting many humongous books in front of them, and they said that, okay, read these books. These are everything, but mental issues should be tackled in the colleges itself. Rightly said. We have some questions from some of our participants. First one is, can you share with us some reference books around learning psychology? This is from Pulkit.
Okay. So I just know one which is like the ABCD of psychology learning, you can say, which is like Daniel or David Kahneman. His book is the best one, so that you can refer to.
Okay, and Pulkit, one more book I would like to suggest you. There's a book by Edward de Bono, Thinking Hats, Six Thinking Hats, I guess the name of book. I don't remember the name, but Edward de Bono is the author of that book. You can surely refer that book. It is a very nice book, and it tells you how the psychology works, depending on the six thinking hats. Okay, Kasmita, we have one more question from Simranpreet Kaur. Metropolitan are the most affected with such scenarios in COVID situation like this, due to lack of open spaces, lack of mental space specifically, and dealing with policies in something long-term solution. Can we have short-term implication for the same? So I think she is asking about the short-term implications in the case of COVID, to
Okay.
provide a mental peace, I guess.
Yes. So the short term, like I have already mentioned in the provided guidelines by the WHO, they have come up with the short term as of to deal with the present situation. That is like you need to have catch up calls with your friends, with your near and dear ones, just to not break the social network or the chain. Then the second one is there are lots of helpline numbers which are being shared by different developmental workers or NGOs widely in India also and also abroad, and which I had shared here with the Archilog team. So you can just run through the helpline numbers. So whenever somebody is in deep trauma situation or in deep anxiety, can just dial those numbers and seek support, just as an immediate and a short-term implication for
Sure.
now.
Sure.
And rest is like keep yourself busy with your hobbies like gardening, cooking, and rest of the any other activities other than your work or your professional life. Just or even these days people are more streaming into Netflix and such online series channels, so you can also just stream Netflix, Amazon Prime, etc. Anything that makes you busy and happy, you can just do it.
Right, right. So do we have some more questions? No questions so far, I guess. So we can conclude the session now, I guess. Aditi, over to you.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, Aditi, you're audible.
First of all, I would like to thank Kashmita. It was a great, insightful session, and I'm sure everybody would leave a little bit more sensitive towards the people suffering from such problems. And I must say that the session really changed my own perspective towards anxiety and the effects that it can really have on a person suffering from it. And surely, as a designer, I would now be more careful and vigilant to what I'm designing, because it would definitely have effects and impact on the users of my own design. And I'm sure urban designers would also understand the need of the hour, because with the development going on in the cities, we do not really have these open green pockets available for us to breathe. So I really request the urban designers to please come up with solutions that can help people during this pandemic situation, because I myself feel trapped inside the home. You cannot go outside, you do not have parks that are open to access and go around, walk around. So it really feels trapped. So it's really the need of the hour. And yeah, so I'm sure each one of us is now more sensitive towards the other people and to themselves. And I would also like to thank all our participants for being a great audience. I hope you enjoyed the session. And I request all of you to please follow us on Instagram and Facebook to stay updated about our upcoming events. And also, all our episodes are going to be shortly available on YouTube. So you can go to our YouTube channel and follow us there, subscribe, and yeah, stay in the loop.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.